What's going on, everybody? It's AG here. Week 4 of college football is in the books, so you know what that means. It's time for Week 5 of my AG poll. Before we get started, though, do me a favor. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure to hit that like button. And in the comments section, let me know your thoughts on my top 25. Let me know your top 25. With that out of the way, let's get started. So number 25, making their first appearance in my top 25 here, Fresno State. Still undefeated, but the real reason they're here is because Arizona State kind of hung with USC today. Fresno State beat Arizona State by 29 last week, so that's why they're here. 24, UCLA. Did lose this week, but a lot of teams have been losing to Utah, so I'm not really going to knock them here. Pac-12, you'll see what I'm talking about later. There's a lot of teams here in the Pac-12, so I'm curious to see how that plays out at the end of the year. 23, Clemson, my only two-loss team here, but they haven't lost anybody bad. Got to give them credit here. They looked okay. We'll see once they get out of the tough part of their schedule how they look. 22, Oregon State. Surprisingly, actually lost to Washington State. They were both in my top 25, but I thought Oregon State would win this one. But a solid loss nonetheless. Close loss. Nothing to hang your head about. 21, Ole Miss. Ole Miss, probably the same Ole Miss as usual. They'll end up 25-15, somewhere in that range. They're going to beat everybody they should beat. They're going to lose to who they shouldn't beat, and that was Alabama. Number 20, Louisville. Actually, pretty impressive to me. Boston College, who they played this week, almost beat Florida State last week. Louisville handled Boston College today. And if you've been keeping up with me all year, I've been high on Louisville. They've got a pretty nice schedule. It's going to play out nicely. They should be in the top 15 by the end of the year, probably. Number 19, Maryland. Arguably the fourth best team in the Big Ten. Probably them or Iowa. And the way Iowa got handled today, I'm going to take Maryland. They're still undefeated. And, hey, we'll see what happens when they get into Big Ten play. 18, Missouri. Missouri had a sneaky good game this week. Another undefeated matchup, them versus Memphis. And they held their own. They won. Remember, they beat Kansas State last week. So, Missouri, hey, keep on rocking. Stay undefeated. 17, North Carolina. Similar with them, they are undefeated still. They've beaten South Carolina. They did struggle against Appalachian State. Them, if they can just keep winning, they'll keep moving up. But if not, they'll probably kind of hang around this 15-20 range. 16, Washington State. Like I said earlier, surprisingly beat Oregon State in a Pac-12 matchup of undefeated teams. Pac-12 again, I'll be curious to see how it plays out at the end of the year. There's a lot of teams here, and I think they're going to all beat each other probably. And I don't really know how the final pecking order is going to be, but right now 16. 15, Oregon. If you've been following me, you know I wasn't big on Colorado. I haven't been high on them. They haven't been in any of my rankings. Haven't even been close. They just hadn't beat anybody, and I really wasn't a believer in them. And Oregon proved that. On the bright side, thank you, Oregon. That way I don't got to get every 3 seconds a notification from Bleacher Report about Prime, about Colorado. So, Oregon, thank you. 14, Miami. Remember a couple weeks ago they beat A&M. Similar to North Carolina, if they keep winning, they kind of hold their own destiny here. And if they keep winning, heck, they'll be in the ACC championship at the end of the year. 13, LSU. LSU, I don't know. I thought they would be a little better this year, and they might be by the end of the year, but right now I'm a little skeptical on them. Really struggled today with Arkansas, and that's not something you want to say for a top 25 team. Number 12, Duke. Hey, they beat Clemson. Next week, though, is the showdown. They've got Notre Dame. If they can somehow beat Notre Dame, Duke might be in my top 10 or 5 next week, and that is not something I thought I would say at the beginning of this year. 11, Utah. If Cam Rising gets back healthy, Utah, in my opinion, is a top 5 team. They're a playoff team. Without Cam Rising, their defense is shining through. They won 14-7 today against UCLA. And like I said, if Cam Rising gets back, if he can be back full strength, this is a top 5 team. 10, Alabama. Started Jalen Milroe again. Looked pretty good this week. They should have done that last week. I don't really know why they overreacted like that, but that's the key to success here for sure. 9, USC. Probably my biggest drop this week. Struggled with Arizona State, and this was like a last-minute change because I was watching that game before I started this. And USC looked like they were asleep after their bye week, so I'm assuming that's probably what was going on there. But number 9, USC. 8, Washington. They have not played anybody really, so I'm a little skeptical on them. If you're going off purely box score, Washington probably has the best resume there is. But, again, I don't really think they've played anybody. They haven't played nobodies. They've played Boise State, Tulsa, and Michigan State, but they haven't really played somebodies either. You know what I mean? So I'm curious to see when they get into Pac-12 play what happens. 7, Florida State. They dropped a little bit for me this week. They did beat Clemson in overtime, but the main reason for them dropping is Boston College and then also LSU. Yeah, I don't know. LSU struggled with Arkansas, so it makes me question how good Florida State is. 6, Penn State. Penn State, surprising, dominating win. I thought Iowa might hang with them a little bit. Usually a solid game when those two get together, and Iowa's not bad. I know they are on offense, but they're not a bad team. Penn State handled them. Last year, only lost to playoff teams. Be curious to see if that happens again this year. But they might be able to knock one of them off. I don't know. We'll see. Number 5, Georgia. This game was like 7-7 at the end of the first quarter against UAB. Georgia, I don't know, until they play somebody, and they're not going to because they have the weakest SEC schedule somehow, which doesn't make a lot of sense. But until they play somebody, I'm not going to give them credit until everybody else in front of them loses. So, yeah, number 5, Georgia. Play somebody, and I'll rank you number 1. Number 4, believe it or not, this might have never happened before, but they lost, and they moved up. Number 4, Notre Dame. They were number 10-ish, I think, for me, but I thought Ohio State would handle them. They hung with Ohio State. They should have won that game. If their offense coordinator handles that last possession better, they win the game if you don't throw it. Also, if you don't have 10 players on the last 2 plays of the game, you probably win this game anyway. Notre Dame, though, hung with Ohio State. I was impressed. They looked like they had the dudes to keep up with Ohio State, and they made a believer out of me. So, number 4, Notre Dame. Number 3, Ohio State. Whenever you get a top 5 win, or in my rankings anyway, a top 5 win, that's a big win for me. So, number 3, I've got Ohio State. I don't know. I'm ready to see them, Penn State, Michigan get after it. It's going to be a good game, good conference run. Number 2, Texas. Texas looked like Texas should today. They kind of handled Baylor as they should, but that's kind of what you need to do when you're going to be a top 5 team consistently. And number 1, staying number 1 again, Michigan. Michigan, they've got the most coming back from last year, and they made the playoffs last year. As of right now, they're my number 1 until something else happens probably. They haven't played anybody like Georgia, but they've looked a little more dominant, in my opinion, than Georgia has. I thought Rutgers might play with them because Rutgers was undefeated going into today, but Michigan kind of handled them. So, number 1, I got Michigan. So, that's my top 25. Let me know your top 25 down in the comments section. Who do you agree with? Who do you disagree with? And like I said at the beginning of this video, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button for me. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up.